Next year, we'll see the release of the newest adventure with Woody, Buzz, Jessie, Rex, Mr. Potato Head, the Pizza Planet aliens, Slinky Dog, Ham, and our other favorite toys. Back in 2010, there was a lot of anticipation for Toy Story 3, especially among those who grew up watching and loving the first two films. With Toy Story 4, you'd think there would be the same level of excitement. However, there are quite a number of people asking this time around, why? There is not necessarily skepticism surrounding the sequel, it's more people wondering what other story there is to tell. Toy Story 3 ended on what seemed like the perfect note, with Andy getting ready to take the next step in his life and passing his toys on to the next generation. It was a heartfelt and touching ending that made many an audience member cry, myself included. It was the right way to finish the trilogy, and if you would ask what my favorite film trilogy is, I would say Toy Story. I don't even need an extra second to think about it. Lee Unkrich and other top Pixar talent said there weren't any plans to make more, and audiences were satisfied. Yes, they did make shorts and a few television specials with the Toy Story characters, but those were more like extra bonus treats. I think Pixar has been really good about not making sequels just because the previous film made money. So while there were the occasional rumors here and there, I was quite surprised when it was announced in 2014 that Toy Story 4 was being made. I definitely wondered what story they could tell next, and I will say it caught my interest when they revealed that it would be a romantic comedy, with Bo Peep and Woody's relationship being the central focus. I know there were people disappointed Bo Peep was absent from Toy Story 3, but I agree with Lee Unkrich that there was not a logical way for her to return and join the other toys on their journey. One, because she's not really a toy, but rather a lamp decoration, and Andy probably did not have the same emotional attachment to her as he did with Woody, Buzz, and Rex. And two, because she's made of porcelain, and probably would not have survived the daycare. There are some interesting angles they could go down by showing what could happen were these two toys to reunite, and what decisions they could face after years of separation. The other curious part of the Toy Story 4 announcement was that John Lasseter would be directing. A few years later, when he dropped out of directing and Josh Cooley became the director of the project, it did not surprise me. Since 2006, Lasseter had been the chief creative officer of not only Pixar, but also Disney Animation and Disney Toon Studios, as well as being heavily involved with Disney Imagineering. Taking on the directing of a full-length animated feature, while also creatively running those other divisions, would have stretched him too thin. Even Cars 2, the only movie Lasseter has directed since 2006, he took on at the last minute after the original director was fired. Josh Cooley has definitely earned directing Toy Story 4, thanks to his years storyboarding on a number of Pixar films dating back to The Incredibles, and he also co-wrote the screenplay for Inside Out. Although, it was not just the directing role that changed hands. The original writers brought onto the film were Rashida Jones and Will McCormack, who were interesting choices as they are mostly known for their acting rather than their writing work. Jones and McCormack wrote the well-received screenplay for the independent romantic comedy Celeste and Jessie Forever, so it's not difficult to see why Pixar would hire them to write Toy Story 4. There is a precedent for this in the series though, as Michael Arndt was hired to write Toy Story 3 following the success of Little Miss Sunshine, and Joss Whedon was brought in to polish and rewrite Toy Story because the Pixar team were such big fans of his original screenplay for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. However, Jones and McCormack eventually left the project because they felt Pixar was too much of a boys' club and did not give other talent at the studio an equal creative voice, and I really have to applaud them for speaking up on this issue. Stephanie Folsom was brought in to rewrite the screenplay and made some rather significant changes. Of course, like most Pixar films, the production of the film has been kept largely secret, to the point where we didn't even find out about a number of new characters until the teaser trailers dropped. The most interesting is this sentient spork named Forky. The internet sure had a lot of fun with that addition. The whole idea of Forky is that Bonnie stuck eyes and a mouth on him, started playing with him, and now he's a toy. This opens up many questions about the Toy Story universe. Ever since seeing the first movie, I was always under the assumption that the toys came to life right after leaving the factory. In Toy Story 2, we even see a bunch of sentient toys who haven't even been bought yet. But it seems anything can be declared a toy and live. The Toy Story movies have always been great about existential questions, and Forky definitely opens up further possibilities, especially with his arc of not wanting to be a toy. Will the other toys let him go back to being a regular spork, or will he grow to accept his new role Bonnie has given to him? This topic of one's identity is one that has been discussed a lot lately, so I think it's neat to see Toy Story 4 potentially go down that road. It also looks like the Toy Story characters will visit a carnival of some sort, if the second teaser and poster are any indication. This again creates more scenarios. Imagine a toy who is sitting in those carnival booths awaiting a child winning a game and receiving him. What if no child succeeds at winning and they're just stuck there? I'm not one of the filmmakers, so I obviously don't know for certain. Which brings us back to Bo Peep. The recent announcements about these new characters haven't given us much of an indication of her role following the script rewrites. Annie Potts, the voice of Bo Peep, has mentioned she's still in the film, while being purposely vague about the new rewrites. Don't want those Disney lawyers coming after you. It's worth pointing out that this is normal for Pixar productions. Almost all of their animated films have changed significantly from the first story treatment to the finished film. WALL-E was originally going to encounter blobby aliens speaking a gibberish language rather than humans. Sully was at one point going to be a timid janitor and Mike Wazowski was nowhere to be found, and the original plot of Cars was about an electric car attempting to find his place in a world where he's made fun of for not running on gasoline. So with that history of Toy Story 4, why do I remain confident in this film? Simply put, because I absolutely love these films. During the three films, we see the development and evolution of these toys, particularly Woody and his relationship with Andy. The entire trilogy manages to connect perfectly and properly grow the characters. Woody's grow from jealous towards Buzz, to deciding between being preserved forever or cherished by a child, to the ultimate choice of being with his friends or Andy is incredible to watch unfold. The screenplay is also incredibly smart and funny, truly understanding these characters and their personal dilemmas. Then there's the heart. John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, Lee Unkrich, and the rest of the Pixar team really captured how much even the simplest toys can mean to a child, no matter how old they are. When you get down to it, toys are not merely pieces of commerce. They come from someone's imagination. Someone had the idea of taking a potato and attaching clothes and body parts to it. Someone had the idea of a spaceman with all sorts of buttons that can make sounds or have wings pop out. Someone designed an alien with 3 eyes, an antenna, and a uniform with a purple collar for some reason. And when a child like Andy is handed one of these toys, their imagination comes alive and they create new stories with them. That's why the Toy Story movies resonate with so many people. We have had 3 excellent films, and yes, that trilogy ended on the right emotional note that was a fulfilling conclusion to their story. So I definitely understand those people who question why Toy Story 4 is being made. Where else can you take these characters? How can they possibly top the emotional climax of Toy Story 3? Why add on to something that was so perfect and almost everyone left the theater satisfied? Those are legitimate questions. A lot of the time with sequels, my attitude is if they announce them, that's great. If the filmmakers feel there's no more story to tell, I'm satisfied with that too. I was actually content for years with The Incredibles being a standalone film. But then they made a sequel, and I loved it. If Finding Nemo had been the only time I ever saw those characters on the big screen, I would have lived the rest of my life fine with that. And yet, I love Finding Dory too. Pixar has not given me any reason to doubt Toy Story 4 because I have such a high admiration for these films. Will I love the new one? The only way for me to find out is to see the movie. But now, let me know if you're excited for Toy Story 4, and I'll see you next time.